Today's video is all about the new Charlotte Tilbury Hypnotizing Pop Shot Single Eyeshadows. I have 3 shades here to show you today. I'm going to be demonstrating each of them on my eyelids, talking about the formulas, the colors, sharing my thoughts on them, and also providing a number of comparisons with other eyeshadows that I have in my collection, especially single eyeshadows, so we can see how these colors and formulas compare to existing single shadows in my collection. So if you'd like to see all of that, just keep on watching. So as I said, I have 3 shades of these. I have Rose Gold, I have Diamond Eyes, and I have Emerald Eyes. So let's actually just get started with swatching each of these shades on my hand so we can see what they look like. The packaging is really gorgeous. So each shade comes in its own little box like this, and the color is indicated on the box as well. And then each little eyeshadow comes in this beautiful component. This has a decent weight to it. I wouldn't call it heavy, but it's kind of about the same as like one of the Chantecaille single shadows. So it has a very luxe presentation and has these gorgeous little gems dotted all around the front of the packaging. It's really beautiful, I think really good for holiday, and a great representation of the shadows that are actually inside here, because these shadows are really beautiful, really glimmery, shiny, sparkly, and I think the packaging does a good job of kind of letting you know what you might be able to expect on the inside. So here is the Emerald Eyes shade. Stunning emerald green. Let's swatch that right now. This looks different from different angles. So right there, you can see that real kind of true emerald green. And I don't know if it's going to show on camera, maybe a little bit. You can see that blue shift to it there. When I look at it in person, it has this gorgeous kind of, what would you call it? It's like a deeper kind of bluish, almost like a teal type of green blue that it shifts to. You can feel that this is going to be a shiny, sparkly formula. That's what it looks like on the finger. And then swatched. Wow, I'm in completely natural light. I don't have any ring lights or spotlights or anything, and you can just see how bright and beautiful that reflect is. So let's blend it out a little bit and see. So it maintains that incredible bright reflect. And you can see the shift there. There's that kind of more teal, and there's the more kind of emerald green. And the base appears to be more of like a gray or taupey type base, so it's not a fully black base, which I think is going to be great because it's going to keep this from being too kind of dark, I guess. It'll still be definitely able to be smoky, but it's going to have that little bit of softness, I think, from that gray base. Okay, that's stunning. So that is Emerald Eyes, and here's Emerald Eyes applied on my lid. And since we're on Emerald Eyes, let's do the comparisons for it right now. So I wanted to compare it to this Valentino. This is the Valentino Dream Dust Glitter Eyeshadow in the shade Emerald Queen. This is a stunning color, but this formula is not user-friendly. It feels like almost like sand, so it's a very sandy feeling glitter. It doesn't really seem to have a base to it, so it's more kind of like loose, chunky glitter that kind of sticks together, but kind of doesn't, and it's really not that easy to use or apply, but I love the color, and it's that one there, and you can see those chunky glitters in there. So there's definitely a place for the Valentino because I love the color so much. I can make the formula work, but it's not really easy or enjoyable to use in my opinion. And then this third swatch down here is the Chantecaille Single Shadow. I think this came out last fall, and this is the shade Regal Emerald, and it's in that little tiger component. That's what that shade looks like. It's one of their luminescent eyeshadows, and you can see that swatch there. So you can see the Chantecaille is a much darker color. It has more of that black base as opposed to the more kind of grayish base that I see in the Charlotte Tilbury. And the texture of each of these three and the finishes are all completely different in my opinion. The Chantecaille is a much more kind of dry, baked feeling formula, and it does give dimension and shine, but it's much more subtle than you're getting from the Charlotte Tilbury. And then the Valentino, I've already described that formula, and the color of the Valentino is a little bit lighter than the Charlotte Tilbury, but I feel like when the Charlotte Tilbury is reflecting really bright, you can see something that looks quite similar to that Valentino shade there. Of these three formulas, the Charlotte Tilbury is far and away my favorite. I think it's super easy to apply. It works extremely well as a one and done shadow, and it gives me that glimmery, shiny, scintillating eye that I really love, which I don't get from the Chantecaille shadow. And I love how the Emerald Eye shade, it's so multidimensional, so shiny, shimmery, bright, reflective. It's giving you everything, but it also has kind of a wearability and subtlety to it at the same time, which I think is kind of the magic of this formula. There's also a blue shade in these called Cosmic Rocks, which looks to be very multichromatic, really gorgeous. I've actually ordered that. I ordered it from Sephora because it was sold out on Charlotte Tilbury by the time I placed my order. So I'll make sure to show you that in a future video. But I kind of get the same sense just from looking at the photos of that one, is that it's this beautiful, multidimensional, bright, colorful, shiny shade, but there's something somehow kind of wearable about it at the same time. Just before I move to the next shade, I wanted to go through the shade description of Emerald Eyes. So Charlotte is describing this as an iridescent jade green eyeshadow with a veil of sheer shimmer for mesmerizing eyes that hypnotize. Next, I wanted to look at Rose Gold, which is actually the shade that I'm wearing right now. So Rose Gold is the only shadow. I don't have any mattes or bronzer or anything else on my eyes. It's just Rose Gold and the Victoria Beckham Cocoa eyeliner that I just used to line my eyes and kind of smudged it out a little bit for a little kind of smudgy wing at the edge. And then I have Rose Gold underneath my eyes in the inner corner as well. I love that all the promo photos of these shadows have the shadows applied that way, all over the lid, under the lid, on the inner corner. It shows that these are really truly one and done shadows. So I'll just show you a quick close-up of my eye look right now. Here's what Rose Gold looks like in the pan, and it's described as a rose gold single eyeshadow with a champagne peach shimmer to take your eyes to another dimension. When I first saw this in person, I was a little bit surprised that it wasn't as rose goldy as I kind of think of when I think of rose gold. And I think you can see on my eyes as well that there's a subtlety to this shade. It's beautiful, but it's not especially pink or rosy to my eyes. It's almost more like a warm taupe. And I'm gonna compare it later to the new Exaggerized cream eyeshadow from Charlotte Tilbury, and I think these are very close, very similar shades. And I know Exaggerized is not described as a rose gold. So you can see when I swatch it there, you can see how it's called rose gold, but it's not going to be as pinky or coppery as I think a lot of people would expect from that name. But it's stunning. I think this is going to be one of the most universally appealing shades. It's just really easy to wear. It's going to look good on so many people. And again, we see that incredible bright reflective quality to this one. I'm gonna blend it out a little bit right there so you can see. These are so pigmented and creamy that when you blend them out, yes, they'll sheer out a little bit, but you can see it's hardly losing any of that beautiful shine and reflectiveness when you blend it out. It just has such a strength to it that it's able to maintain that intensity even when it's blended out. And now I'm going to show you myself applying rose gold to my eye. So the first thing I thought of when I saw rose gold, even online, I almost wasn't going to buy it because I thought it might be exactly the same as this shade here in the Charlotte Tilbury Fire Rose Quad, which came out a couple of holiday seasons ago. This shade is called a Super Pop, so they're not saying it's the same formula. And I do think this formula is different, especially from the rose gold shade, but there are definitely similarities. So there's that Super Pop from Fire Rose. And there's rose gold on my middle finger there. So there's a little bit more depth to the rose gold, a little bit more warmth perhaps, but you'll see that there are some similarities there. The feeling of that Super Pop one from the quad is also a little bit kind of not chunkier feeling, but you can feel a looseness in some of the shimmers. And you can see that that one actually, when it's swatched, looks more orangey coppery. There's more of almost a taupey quality to rose gold. And I do think the Super Pop shade from the quad is more prone to fallout than these individual shadows. Another one I wanted to look at is from Bobbi Brown. This is the shade Opal Moonstone. This to me, I think, is a little bit more what I think of when I think rose gold. I'm gonna put that one up there actually. You can see more of the pink, that rosiness, kind of a blush tone coming through in that. I also wanted to compare it to Victoria Beckham Lid Luster in Tea Rose, because this is another example of a rose gold type shade, but it's a very different version. I'm going to put that down here. See a lot more rosiness and depth in that one, but those together would be beautiful actually with the Tea Rose kind of as your outer smoky part, and then the Charlotte Tilbury Rose Gold more in the center and inner corner. And then the last one I wanted to look at is Exaggerize. So this is in the Eyes to Mesmerize formula, so it's a cream, it's a very different type of formula, but I wanted to show you how those colors compare. I'll put it down here. So there's Exaggerize and there's Rose Gold. Two peas in a pod, in my opinion. And I think it would be absolutely gorgeous to put Exaggerize all over and then basically put rose gold all over on top of it. I think it would really create an intensely shimmering, really beautiful look. So again, we have Bobbi Brown Opal Moonstone, Charlotte Tilbury Rose Gold, Charlotte Tilbury Super Pop from the Fire Rose Quad. This one down here is the Victoria Beckham Lid Luster in the shade Tea Rose. And here we have the Exaggerize cream eyeshadow from Charlotte Tilbury. To the touch, the formula of rose gold feels a little bit smoother than the emerald eyes and the diamond eyes, which I'm going to show you next. So in the emerald and the diamond, you can kind of feel a little bit of that shimmer in there. When I touch the rose gold one, you can feel that it's textured and you can feel some shimmer in there, but it just has a little bit of a maybe harder pressed kind of smoother feel to it. And saving the best for last, diamond eyes. Not to say that this is really any better than the other ones, but this is the shade that I've been looking for years, especially in a single shadow format. For so long, I've been looking for a beautiful, light, super reflective, glittery, glimmery champagne, just like this. And this is the first time I've come across something that makes me feel like I've finally found that. I'll explain that a little bit more when I'm going through the comparisons, but right now I just want to talk about this shade. So that is what Diamond Eyes looks like on my finger. This one is described as a single iridescent pearl eyeshadow with a veil of sheer shimmer for a multi-dimensional eye look. And here it is swatched. This is just the color of my dreams. This incredible champagne, but it has a dimensionality to it. I can see a rosiness in there. It's not too warm, it's not too cool. There's somehow a depth to it at the same time as being so light and bright. Probably won't pick up on camera, but there's an incredible multi-dimensionality in the shimmers of this. It's like a multicolored rainbow shimmer glitter within this beautiful champagne base. And this looks incredible on the eyes. I wore it yesterday just completely on its own, and it looked so beautiful. It had so much interest, so much light catching ability. It was really gorgeous on its own, but it's also going to be the perfect shade to top off a look, add that spotlight brightness, and just take any look to another dimension. I'm really, really happy about this one, and I'm seriously considering buying a backup of this because I feel like this is something I'm going to go to again and again. So now I'm going to show you myself applying this to my eye. And now for some comparisons. The first comparison I wanted to show is the shadow that I kind of wanted to be this, but ended up not being. This is the Chantecaille Luminescent eyeshadow in the Cheetah shade, which is called Warm Champagne. So that's what it looks like in the pan. This is really gorgeous too. I do love this one. But I'll explain why this isn't as good as the Charlotte Tilbury in my mind. So there's the Cheetah shade. And it basically comes down to the texture of the eyeshadow. The Charlotte Tilbury is much more textured and you're seeing all those little shimmery particles reflecting, whereas the Cheetah shade is much more smooth. So it just never gave me that multi-dimensionality that I wanted from a shade like this. And it doesn't reflect as bright as the Charlotte Tilbury either, because you have all those different kind of glittery, shimmery particles in the Charlotte Tilbury. It gives a much more complex reflect, in my opinion, than the Cheetah shade. So both beautiful, and again, I think these would work beautifully together, but the Charlotte Tilbury is the clear winner in my mind. And then I just wanted to compare two more of the Victoria Beckham lid lusters, so the shade Chiffon and the shade Blonde. So there's Chiffon, and there's Blonde. So Chiffon came pretty close to doing what I wanted it to do, but you can see there that it's actually a deeper shade than the rest of these. It's kind of a taupey champagne as opposed to a more straight up champagne, I guess, or a lighter champagne. I do love Chiffon. I use this one all the time. It's a perfect topper. It has a bit more of a sheer base actually than the other Victoria Beckham lid lusters, and a sheerer base than the Charlotte Tilbury as well. So I find it works best as a topper because the formula just feels like it's really made to do that. It has a beautiful multi-dimensionality kind of shimmery glimmery effect, but it's not quite what I'm getting from the Charlotte Tilbury. And then the Blonde lid luster comes close in some ways. It has that brightness, it has that multi-dimensional glitter. Maybe you can see the different colored shimmers in there, I'm not sure. But this is the one lid luster that I just find quite hard to work with actually. It always gives me fallout. The other shades I can pretty easily avoid fallout, but with the Blonde shade for some reason gives me fallout. It can look a little bit chalky, chunky. It's just not ideal for me. And it's a little bit too kind of green and almost cool. It has this kind of strange flip to it. It has this very bright white and then kind of like a warm greeny gold. So it's just not exactly what I've been looking for. So again, we have the Charlotte Tilbury Diamond Eyes. Next up here is the Chantecaille Luminescent Eyeshadow in Cheetah or Warm Champagne. Then we have two Victoria Beckham Lid Lusters, Chiffon and Blonde. I'm really happy with these eyeshadows. These are probably my favorite single eyeshadows. I know it's early to be saying that. It certainly will take some more testing out, but I did wear one of these shades all day yesterday and I'm wearing another of the shades today, and just everything about them is practically perfect. The shades are beautiful. I think she's got a good range here of some more kind of interesting colorful shades and some more wearable shades, and she's given me the sparkling champagne of my dreams, so I'm absolutely thrilled about that. The formula is beautiful. This is more of a traditional powder formula in the sense that it's not a baked formula. I also really like the presentation, not only the component packaging, but the fact that these are just in shallow pans makes them really easy to apply. My preferred way to apply these is definitely with a finger, at least at first, to really get that pigment down on the eye. You can even start to blend it and spread it out with your finger, and then you can go in with a brush and just kind of diffuse out the edges. That to me is definitely the best way to apply these, as with most metallic or kind of glimmery eyeshadows. But I think it's really important that you can very easily just get your fingers right into the pan, right onto the eye, because that is an issue that I have with a lot of single eyeshadows actually. Like the Victoria Beckham, it can be quite difficult to get your finger down into that pan once you've gone through any little bit of the product, especially if you have nails. I don't have particularly long nails, but it really doesn't take much for the nails to become a problem when you're trying to go into these little pans with your fingers. Even the Eyes to Mesmerize, I love these and I've been wearing them quite a lot lately, but it is kind of a pain to have to go in there with your finger and try to kind of dig out the product. It inevitably gets under your fingernails and it can just be a little bit of a messy endeavor when you're trying to go into a pot like that. But having these in these shallow pans is just perfect. And really at this point, I can't think of any criticism of these shadows. I think they're so beautiful. I think they're amazing one and done eyeshadows. They'll pair beautifully with other shadows as well, creams, liquids, and even just as kind of toppers or shadows that you can use to finish off another eye look. I just think these are incredible and, in my opinion, one of the best makeup releases of this year. So that's it for this video. Let me know if you have any questions or comments below. I always love to see those. If you'd like to see more from me and you haven't subscribed to my channel already, I'd love for you to do so. Thanks again so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you in my next video.